So after 5 long months of designing, shooting, and editing this project, I can finally put an end to this series. This has by far been the most in-depth project that I've ever worked on. Honestly, I don't even have an idea of how many hours that I've worked on this project. And unfortunately, the only time that I've really been able to work on this project has been pretty sporadic, you know, like a weekend here, an hour or two there. So it's been a really long and drawn out process. But luckily, all of that hard work paid off, and I think the final results are really great. But enough talking, let's get into the work. So let's start off where this project began, which is on the social media posts. So here's where I ended up with the social media posts. I believe I've showed these images already, but I just want to make sure I share them again just in case you didn't see them or forgot. And I also might have made some very slight adjustments here and there between then and now. Ultimately, I'm really happy with how these came out. I think all of them feel very cohesive with each other as well as the broader project. Instantly when you see them, you know exactly what's going on and your eye is drawn to the shoes, which is the main idea for this project. But of course, they also live up to the slogan of the ad campaign, better with wear. I edited the photos to make them look like they were kind of like out of a 90s magazine, so they looked a little bit kind of roughed up and not exactly pristine, as well as just adding a bunch of texture over all of the images, so that way they had a little bit more of a grunge element to them, so they weren't just so clean and crisp. And of course, doing all of the collage work by hand definitely helped make it feel a little bit more human and not so digital and clean and cut. Now let's move on to the poster designs. And of course, I'm also really happy with how they turned out as well. One of my favorite things about these images is if you click through each one of the images, you can see that they're pretty much exactly the same except for the borders that kind of surround the image. And so the image will stay mostly the same except for the shoes, and then the border will change. So I think it has a really cool effect whenever you quickly go through all of them, and you can kind of see all of the slight adjustments and changes, but there's also that familiar shoe at the bottom part of the image. I also really like the simplicity of the collage that I did here. In the social media posts, they were a little bit more elaborate and chaotic, but here it's a little bit more simple and refined, which I think works really well for these poster designs. It's enough to do its job to give an authentic and kind of grungy and war-torn kind of feel, but also not distracting enough that it takes away from the main image of the shoes. I also really like playing around with the Vans logo and just kind of roughing it up and kind of making it a little bit kind of torn in places and kind of having some texture over it. I feel like it's kind of unique, especially to these pieces specifically, because I didn't really do that a whole lot on some of the other designs, so that kind of makes it memorable. So it kind of helps make these posters memorable in a way that the other ones might not be. And now here are the billboard ads that we worked on. Now these turned out pretty similar to the social media posts, at least the way that I kind of made them, but I feel like at this point I was really kind of hitting my stride in the way that I was making these analog collages, and so I felt like I was able to do some things that maybe I wouldn't have thought about doing on the social media posts and then incorporate them here on the billboard. Just kind of playing around with some different shapes and the way that I was kind of cutting up everything and placing everything. And so I kind of feel like these are elevated pieces of the social media posts that we did. But with the billboard ads, I had to make sure that I was kind of designing these in a way that would work on a very large format and that would also work from very far away. Because for instance, if you were driving a car very fast and you might see this in the distance, you want to make sure that it's easily legible what it is and that people will see it and understand exactly what it's for. And so of course I had to make adjustments for that, but I think overall they still feel like they're a part of the larger ad campaign and they turned out really well and they still feel consistent with the rest of the project. And now here are the magazine layouts. Now it was definitely a huge pain to have to go back and take more photographs to use them for these designs, but honestly the project's way better because of it. These designs are completely different than anything else that we worked on during this project, and I feel like they're better for it. But of course they're also using a lot of the same assets, and so you definitely can tell that they're part of the same ad campaign, but they're definitely unique enough on their own that they can stand on their own. And really the advice that I got to kind of take these photos and kind of make a scene out of them was really a great idea, and I was able to use them on the typographic posters that I would do later on. But overall, I'm just really happy with how these came out. Speaking of typographic posters, here's where we ended up with those. I made some slight adjustments from whenever I did the recordings, but honestly not a whole lot of difference. But I really think that those little changes helped make this feel a lot more final and complete. But overall, I'm just really happy with how these came out. I think the typography and all the photographs and the shoes, everything just works really well together, and they're really just an awesome set of poster designs. I guess the only downside to these posters is they don't really have the kind of collage elements that I've used in a lot of the other posters, but they have a little bit of that with the kind of red mark that's in the bottom left. But honestly, it's not a whole lot, but hopefully it's enough to kind of get across that they're part of the same ad campaign. But even if they're not, I still think they're really great posters and they still work for the project. And of course, I said that I wanted to use the typography design for a shirt design, but that didn't really end up working out. And so I had to scratch all of that and just come up with my own idea, which I think was actually the better way to do it anyways. So here's where we ended up with the shirt design. Honestly, I'm really happy with how this turned out because it feels like something that I would actually see on the Vans website, and it's something that I would wear personally. I think the only thing that I'm not happy with about this design is that it doesn't feel as connected to the ad campaign as a lot of the other things, just because it doesn't have any of the elements that I've already used. But honestly, I think that's really a minor complaint, and I do still feel like this works with the ad campaign. And then lastly, here's where we ended up with the shoebox design and the tag design. I think these were a really great way to end the project and kind of bring everything full circle. I feel like it has just enough of the assets from all the other posters that we've made that also incorporate some different things and also feel unique on their own. So really, I don't know if I really could have done anything else for these box designs that I haven't already done here. And so after months and many hours, I can finally say that I am done with this project. It was definitely a lot of fun to work on, but it was definitely a lot of hard work and took a long time in order to get all of the designs done, shoot everything, and also edit this entire project. I'm really proud of the work that I've done here, and I'm also proud that I was able to accomplish a project of this size. And hopefully throughout this video series, I was able to inspire or help you out in some way. Really, I made these videos for myself. I was already going to be doing the designs, and I thought it might be entertaining to let people just kind of see behind the curtains and see what I'm doing and see all the little details behind the project. But hopefully from watching this project, you were able to take some things away and maybe learn something that you can use on your next project. I don't know too many people who would take on a project this big and then record the entire process, so I'm really hoping that you would get something out of it. And of course, if you did learn something from the series or you just enjoyed the videos, I'd appreciate it if you would check out the rest of my channel and then consider subscribing. I hope to see you in the next video.